Hey, this is Doc Yates. I'm a naturopathic doctor, registered acupuncturist, and a kinesiologist, owner of the Yates Naturopathic Clinic, and the founder of the interactive health website, Able Health. And this is the Simply Health Podcast, a show for females where I work to simplify and demystify the secrets of achieving optimal health naturally, based on my own experience in working with thousands of female patients over the past 15 years of my clinical practice. Welcome to Simply Health. Hey, this is Doc Yates, and welcome to the Simply Health Podcast. Thank you for joining me today. And again, this podcast is brought to you by ablehealth.us. And today, I want to discuss something called xenoestrogens. And some of you may have heard this term before. Perhaps you're wondering what it means. Xenoestrogens are the synthetic estrogens. So these are things that act like estrogen, but they're typically found in like plastics and petrochemical-like materials. And they are everywhere. And here's the thing, there's your regular, they would call estrogens. There's xenoestrogens, which are these synthetic fake estrogens. And then there's something called phytoestrogens. And phytoestrogens are from plants. So let's break it down between those three. The natural estrogens in your body, they all bind to these receptors. But xenoestrogens and phytoestrogens can also bind to those receptors. When xenoestrogens bind to those receptors, they can often have a stronger response, making symptoms of estrogen dominance even more prevalent. When phytoestrogens bind to those receptors, they can also fill that spot. They can displace the synthetic estrogens, but they don't have such a strong response. If anything, I'm not going to say a blocking response, but they have like a reduced response, making phytoestrogens a much better source and supply of estrogen. But again, the main thing is you want to focus on your own natural estrogens. But we're going to go through how all these tie together. And I want to start with the xenoestrogens because people are wondering, well, that doesn't sound good. How do I avoid these things? And the thing is, it's very difficult to avoid them now. They're literally everywhere. So I'm going to list off some of the top 5 sources. So plastics. So your food in plastics, there's xenoestrogens in that plastic. And this is, if it's not in direct contact, it's not as bad. If certain things make it worse, like say it's a softer plastic, or if you're microwaving it with your food in it, that can release a lot more of the plastics into it. So trying to reduce plastics and plastics that you're in constant contact with is important. A lot of synthetic perfumes, and I'm listing a lot of things here that play a big role for the female audience and for my perimenopausal crowd, because that's who my concern is right now, is that we're discussing is because these perimenopause is like the key area of estrogen dominance in most people's lives, because progesterone's dropping, and then estrogen is either too high, but you get all these synthetic estrogens in there, and this estrogen dominance plays havoc in terms of weight, mood, sleep, everything. So what we need to do is continuously work to try and remove these. So let's go through another. So perfumes is, if you're using perfumes and they got a lot of benzenes and other synthetics in them, you're probably spraying yourself on a daily basis with xenoestrogens. Birth control pills, another one, and a lot of people know about. They used to really go over a lot more, especially when I was in school and started practice, like, okay, you want to go on birth control, that's fine, but you don't want to stay on it for too long. And now, the people that I see that are on it 10, 15 years, and no one even says anything more. It's kind of like how cell phones used to have that warning, like, don't use this all the time, it may cause brain cancer. And now it's like, no, everyone's got a cell phone, we all use it. It doesn't mean it's good. It's something where you don't really have a choice. You have to use these things now, but xenoestrogens is one of those things you really do have a choice you want to try and avoid. So birth control is another one. Household cleaners. A lot of household cleaners are full of xenoestrogens, and if anytime you can switch to a more natural brand, this would be good, or sometimes even just switching back to the old-fashioned soap, water, vinegar, those types of things. Those are still work just as well for cleaning as they always used to. And here's a big kicker, tap water. So literally, this is the point that I'm going to get to in the next phase, is that you're not going to eliminate xenoestrogens from your life. It's virtually impossible. what you want to do is take the things that you have more control over and try and reduce it. Like if you could switch to a natural perfume, if you could switch to natural cleaners, try and use less plastics for your food and water, all of those will play a role. But it's as I mentioned before, they're literally in everything. So just do your best, but it's not something that I want you to become super paranoid about, because I've seen people where they get so paranoid, like they get to the point where they're like living in a tent outdoors because they don't want to be around anything. That's not good either. So we want to just focus on the main sources, which is why I'm only listing the top 5. Because the other thing you want to focus on is how can you eliminate these from your body. If you can get them so that your body is eliminating them as fast as they're coming in, then you're going to be in a much better spot. So let's review some of the top things that they've found to help eliminate excess xenoestrogens from your body. Nettle tea. So nettle, honestly, it's, in my opinion, it's got to be one of the wonder herbs because it's good for everything. It's good for detoxification. I've seen it great for gout. It's good for your skin. It's good for your hair. Yeah, and now we know it's also good for helping your body detoxify xenoestrogens. So you want to use nettle tea. Vitex is another herb, also known as chasteberry. Maybe some people might have heard of that one. It plays a big role with hormone balance and can play a role with eliminating these estrogens. DIM, D-I-M. This is an extract from cruciferous vegetables like broccoli and cauliflower. And almost any health food store is going to carry these DIM extracts. This can help bind to these synthetic estrogens and estrogen metabolites and help your body eliminate them. Another herb is called lady's mantle. That's another one. Now, here's the thing with these herbs. Lady's mantle, say another herb like dong quai or licorice. These have phytoestrogens in them. And this is probably one of the reasons that they work so well for eliminating these xenoestrogens. As I mentioned earlier, the phytoestrogens can bind to the receptors and displace or force those xenoestrogens to move out, and then your body eliminates them. If they're not bound up, they can be eliminated. So by using more phytoestrogens, especially if you're using plants that have some phytoestrogen but then also have a beneficial effect for progesterone, like for instance Vitex, peony, Dioscorea, these are all herbs that we put together often into the same formula for convenience, then you're literally killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Magnesium. I've said this many times, magnesium for all, because it's one of those things that it plays a role in so many functions of your body, from your sleep to your mood to energy production to muscle stiffness to recovery. And it also can play a role in your body's ability to detoxify xenoestrogens. So please, please, please make sure magnesium is part of your regular nightly routine. Sweating in saunas. So it doesn't have to be a sauna where people are like, oh, I don't have the money. I'm not going to go out and buy a sauna right now. Sweating works too, which means exercising works. And again, it's one of those classic cases. Exercise plays a positive role in everything. And it's not necessarily about, you have to go super intense. You can cheat this a little bit. You can dress up. You can wear warmer clothes. That way your body heats up more and induces sweating more, so you get a faster response for this detoxification. And weight loss. There you go, 2 for 1 with that one. By exercising and then changing your diet to improve weight loss, you're doubling down on how fast your body's getting rid of these xenoestrogens. Because the xenoestrogens, like other estrogens, can be stored in your fat. The more fat you have, the more storage you have, the more xenoestrogens you have, the more estrogen dominant you become, and therefore the harder it is to lose the fat. So if you could start trying to lose the fat and using these other things to displace the xenoestrogens, you'll see the fat loss at a much better pace, a much better rate. So I know that seems like a lot of things. It's like, how could I possibly implement that many things? And that's why what we do is we basically combine all of those into one or two formulas and then put it all into one program. So you can put it all so you lose weight, balance your hormones, help your body clear the xenoestrogens all in one go. So it makes it very straightforward into the perimenopausal programs that we use. So if you have any questions, you can give me a shout. But otherwise, I hope this was informative. And I hope it makes you start, when you start spraying different scents, chemicals, perfumes on you or on your house, maybe just give it a second thought and say, okay, what am I actually doing here to myself and to the rest of my family, who, now that knowledge is power, and sometimes that first warning can be a little scary, but once you're empowered, you realize you can make these changes and see the benefits. So I hope this was helpful. This is Doc Yates signing off. Thanks for tuning in to Simply Health. If you want to learn more about health, check out Able Health. If you want to see some of the other projects that I've been working on in health, business, music, and life, please check out the links below.